Ladies and Germans, how you guys all doing? This is Con Hork, and I am here with...
RangRoo, hello, hello, hello.
And we're bringing you some more Steel Division N44. Now, I haven't said this to RangRoo just yet, but I think, guys, we're going to put this video up on July 4th. So for those of you in the US, happy Independence Day. I hope we get some great fireworks in this game so far. But today we have a 2v2. Rang, take us through the players here.
Well, on the right-hand side, in blue, playing as the Allies, we have US Pilot 3D as the 15th Scottish Infantry Division, which isn't exactly American, and on also Bubblegum as 101st Airborne. On left-hand side, as the Axes, we have bloody hell, how do you even say it?
Stantny Schwatek?
Yeah, I'm just going to call him Statney as the 3rd Fallschirmjaeger,
Works for me.
and Harold Alexander as the 21st Panzer Division.
Now, guys, I do want to make a quick call out real quick. First of all, the map itself is the Odin Forest, but also, I know we've seen a couple of games for Harold Alexander, I know at least on my channel. I know, Rang, you and I cast another Harold Alexander game too. And we would love to see a lot more people out there submitting the replay, so if you do play the game, upload it. We'd love to see more from you.
Yeah, I love a good replay. I love a good replay.
Indeed, indeed. So what should we be expecting from this kind of setup that we're having right now from both sides?
Yeah, it's a very interesting setup. We got 3 very powerful, well, pretty powerful infantry tanks, and then Harold Alexander with his 21st Panzer. Well, if we just look at the middle of the map all around, it's very forestry. We got this creek that only allows infantry to run across, tanks and vehicles cannot. So I'm thinking, or if we just see real fast, it seems like Statney is going up top with 3rd Fallschirmjaeger, trying to fight over the town, as Bubblegum with his 101st going to be doing the same thing, so airborne, and down below is probably going to be a bit more of an open ground play. There is still quite a bit of forest to hide around, so it's going to be pretty even with Harold versus Pilot 3D.
Now, okay, so I will admit the 21st Panzer holds a special place in my heart. I'm kind of a Romulopphile. So you're saying it's going to be an even matchup between the two groups in the south. How is that? I mean, won't the light tanks overrun, or the light vehicles overrun the 15th in the early part of the game? Well,
it's much better for Pilot to engage the 21st Panzer because he can end up getting challenges and 17 pounders, which will help deal with the Panzer IVs and eventually the King Tigers. Fortunately, he's only fighting against the Porsche models of the King Tigers, which have 19 frontal armor, which are much more manageable compared to the Heinz-School or the Hen-School one.
Indeed.
So just as long as he can get closer, it gets a lot of flanking opportunities, use challenges, light tanks, down the Little Johns to try and fight those German heavy tanks. But he doesn't have to worry about German heavy tanks till C phase, and especially the 3rd Fallschirmjaeger guy too, because he can only bring up Stugs later on.
Oh, and that's something that we talked about in another game that we did recently, so folks keep an eye out for more casts between Rang and myself. Now, what is that going to be like in the north, though? So we have, you said, 3rd Fallschirmjaegers facing off against the Screaming Eagles. So how do you think that particular matchup is going to go?
Just like the 1v1 tournaments that happened, if 3rd Fallschirmjaeger can keep at range of their Fallschirmjaegers, they're going to win. If 101st getting close with their B engineers and their flamethrowers, they're going to win. And I don't know, it could go either way, really. You got a few good forests for the 101st to flank through, yet at the same time, the 3rd Falcons is definitely going to be able to get into that town first in the fortified positions, and there's quite a few open line of sight areas in the town for them to take advantage of with their FG-42s and MG-34s.
Now, that's very good that you put pointed that out. I cannot talk today. One thing I'm noticing right now is a very early call-in.
Oh, that's risky.
I think this is going to be just an artillery screen. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, he's calling in 210mm artillery, and if he times it right, I may be able to knock out a unit or two, unless Bubblegum decides to go around the forest down below. But pretty ballsy move, just calling the off-map right at the beginning, see if Assy does anything in a few seconds.
Well, we are seeing some smoke coming on out, so it looks like there's going to be a very quick rush. Trying to get in onto that town, and oh my gosh, it's going to be perfect. Oh, okay, never mind. Nope. I was like, this is going to be brilliant.
And the smoke is a real good choice here for Bubblegum, because he needs to be able to use that smoke to allow his AB engineers and other units to get in close, but the artillery is going to be forcing him to hold back, even though it hasn't got any kills.
Okay, we'll go down the line in just a second. I do want to point out one interesting thing in the north. We are going to see Fallschirmjaeger Scharfschütze with that Panzerbücheres 39 as an anti-tank rifle.
Yep.
Very, very rarely do you actually see the sharpshooters. I feel like that's always part of the game that's not utilized maybe to as great a degree as it should be. How do you feel about that?
Well, a few patches ago, when the game first came out, it only had 3 ammunition compared to 30, so a lot of people didn't really bother using it in the deck, and there goes the Italian...
Ooh, sorry to cut off real quick.
Yeah.
See, Airborne Rifles took a quick Zook shot, take out that light Panzer in the town.
Whoa!
And oh my god, through the fire and flames they are carrying on.
That's such a good push, yeah. He just went balls to the walls, used the AB engineers exactly how he needed to, and he's going to have that town under his control. Real good offensive play from Mr. Bubblegum.
Indeed. Let's take a quick look. We'll go back to that town in just a second, but I imagine that will be, as we are so fond of saying, a meat grinder. Moving on to the middle part of the map, say center north, we're just going to see some very light probing going on. Fallschirmjäger's moving forward against 37mm anti-tank gun, a couple of guys in support. Let's take a look at the south, though. So the south looks like we should be having some action pretty darn soon. Do you want to take that away for a second?
Yeah, we got an Afra being brought off from Pilot 3D, a wonderful early game unit. Hardly any German, especially 21st Panzer Division, unless it gets a Pack 43 in A phase, which I hardly doubt. Yeah, Afra is going to have a very good time, and it's rather shorter range, so it's going to have, it's going to be having an advantage. The older Panzer Grenadiers at longer range. I'm going to say rather even between them and the Rifles, as the Rifles does have the veterancy, and also Harold does have the light vehicles to help him support. It's a very weird area, the southern side of the map, you got to agree. There's creeks, there's forests in all odd positions, and it's just going to be about who can do the maneuver play better to take advantage of it.
Well, that first flying trash bin comes on now and misses completely. And actually, wow, okay, look up in the north real quick. You see the 101st has taken the town completely. We're also seeing a massive, massive wave of aircraft coming in, as well as reinforcement. Do you want to talk about that with me for a second?
Yeah, we got Harold sending in units up top, and he's a guy attacking down below, so good job helping out his buddy. So, there goes the bombing run, knocking out the, almost killing the stovepipe, and forcing the Pandergrens to unload. But yeah, also in the forest too. Damn, we got planes here, Spitfires from pilots, and he's a Scottish deck bringing in the air power. It's, well, rather amusing, and the Fallschirmjäger's fighting in the forest.
Worth noting in the meantime that pop gun from Bubblegum is going to be forced back a little bit, and it looks like the beginning push to take this town again has begun. Let's take a quick look in terms of vision. What do both sides see? I'm going to shift over to US Pilot 3D for a second.
Yep.
How are we looking over here? You think this is a good setup so far? You think he's moderately blind?
He's pretty blind, but of course that's going to be so in this area of the map. He does have the far left area, where yeah, in a Recce squad at least, because you can. If I was Harold, I'd try to attack where the PF and Recce squad in and try to set a nice defensive position there, just to try to shoot into the sides.
Alright, and speaking of Harold, let's switch over to Harold real quick, just to kind of get everything. Now, we are going to see enemy air contact coming onto the south, Spitfires making gun runs at these poor defenseless spot troops. But taking a look at the south, he looks like completely blind. He's got no idea what's in front of him.
Yeah, it's just, he's going to have to use his Panzer Grenadiers to try and attack through first. He's going to be careful keeping his Panzer Grenadiers alive. If you get 6 of them during the A phase. I'm already seeing like 4 of them down below, and there's 2 up top. So maybe use all his Panzer Grenadiers up already, Rich. Well, you might as well do that, but you can't really afford to lose any for another 5 minutes or so, 4 minutes.
That's true, but it seems he's not too cowed by any kind of threats. Looks like, actually, it feels like he's got the southern boundary completely sewn up. He's throwing another 4 half-tracks to the north. So, Harold Alexander, he sent a couple of replays into you, I know, so...
Yep.
What's your measure of the man? Is he kind of one of the rising stars for this particular community, or what?
He's a very good player. He's been in quite a few tournaments, actually, especially the Proto Soccer tournaments. Very good play. I've seen him play all sorts of different decks, so I always enjoy seeing a Harold Alexander replay. I mean, last replay we watched, he was playing Guard Armored, now he's trained 21st Panzer, so he's not just a one-trick pony.
Indeed.
But he is an autocannon trick pony with all these 250 stats 9s being rushed up top, and they're very well. Redford is very persistent in trying to take this town back, and
how easy do you think that's going to be? I mean, we're seeing a ton of firepower being levied in there, but we're also seeing an M22 up to the northern side as well. And if he gets online, how do you think it's going to change?
Well, the M22, it's not going to be too much of a big deal because those autocannons can actually kill it, which is rather amusing. It's just going to be down to the red guys using their fire support units correctly to try to attack into the town. The AB Engineers is out of flamethrower fuel, so it's not going to be able to do too much damage. I think the Axis will be able to take back this town rather easily. Just look at all the units they have.
Move just south of that town for a second. We're seeing a little bit of strange territory going on. I mean, the Allies are up 52-48 right now and are growing that lead of 200 tickets plus. But we are getting closer and closer to Phase B. Do you think this is something where the Allies have to take a lot of territory early, or do they have time to kind of come back later and strengthen their position?
I think for Bubblegum, he has to be very aggressive early on, because once you get out of Phase A, you do start losing power exponentially for the 100. And first, for all the other divisions, though, they will slowly get more powerful once you get into B and C, especially 3rd Fallschirmjaeger with the amount of bloody planes that they can get during the C phase.
Let's take a quick look to the south. Just move on down with me. We're going to see a couple of Spitfires making gun runs, and it looks like Harold's lines have been neglected for too long. The 21st Panzer has this big gap opening up in the middle of their lines. Now, you were talking before about the impassability of this creek. Is that something that was not so much an anticipated vulnerability, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I believe you cannot cross vehicles over the creek, but infantry can quickly move through. So he could try to move through some infantry, but that's not going to work too well in the long run. Pilot is really going to have to be reliant on his fire support vehicles to try and win infantry engagements. You see the Panzergrenadiers engaging these Vickers and rifles in the open ground, and even though the Vickers, they're just not really doing all that much. They call in the open with their pants down.
Definitely seems accurate. Now, okay, so we're a minute out, 60 seconds to go till Phase B. Aviary is going to continue to be an issue in the south, of course. In the center part of the map, it looks like, I'm not going to say we're stabilized, but it looks like we're in for the long haul in the center part of it.
Yep.
What do you suppose is going to be the story in the north?
Well, for the north, I think the Axis will be able to take this town, and they almost have done it. Only a rifle and a 56-pound squad left alive, but it's pushing through afterwards. I think for Phase B it's going to help a lot with Stanny, because he can bring out those Fallschirmjaeger Pioneers and lower Jaegers, which will help much more in the close range forest fighting. But it's just going to be about going from one forest to another, and also just all the fire support vehicles, all the autocannons is going to help immensely, especially in this close range engagement. So I think they can keep up the pressure and really take a lot of ground up top.
No, okay, and that's something I do want to get into just a little bit more, but okay, we were talking about how the town itself is such a meat grinder. Why is he throwing so many forces at it? If you look to the southwest of that, it looks like his entire territory is being seized like crazy. So, from a strategic perspective, why is he kind of tunnel vision? Why are they both tunneling on it so hard?
Well, if they're both wargame players, attacking towns have always been the most important part. And if you just look at town is not much of the map, and as you said down below, it's just all that ground has been lost for the Axis players. Just by a few rifles, but it's slowly getting pushed back. You do have some reinforcements trying to close in that gap. But I guess once you hold a town and don't let the enemy, or in this case, Bubblegun, hold on to it for too long and get too heavily fortified, now's the best time to try to attack through, retake it, and then just leave it behind you and attack through the forest up top, which would be much easier to take and attack in a fortified town. But he definitely neglected the entire top-middle side, and he's really paying for it with the plus 1 point advantage at blue fort again.
It looks like down the south we're going to see a little bit more action, but we're seeing first reinforcements coming on in for both sides.
Hello?
Yes,
Yep.
Yes. It turns out I was just talking to myself. I was pressing the wrong key. So, it's not been a good day for recording for the two of us, has it?
No, or at least the majority of it's fine, so...
Well, you know what, at least, people want to get, a sneak peek at what's going on through my head, especially to go to both channels to see the play, right?
Yeah, exactly, and of course we're link each other's channels in the descriptions below. I just want to make sure you're at like 1455 right now.
57,
Yep,
58. Yep, we are
Okay,
dead on. Ah, so Babblegun, not to be outdone with those call-ins, he's going to bring in that 356 off-map artillery. He's going to completely level that town, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely so. That's a huge bloody gun, and there's a so clumped up, only 5 seconds left, and just look at all the infantry together. They're pretty much out in the open at this point, so if he can get a good hit with the RT, he may be able to stop his dreadful push, but I think the foul. Oh, there we go. There's the pin down.
A pin down, but the question is whether that other follow-up shot can really sock it to him.
Well, at least he's going to stop the assault for now, which is buying him a little bit of time to try and get some reinforcements. The autocannon units are still moving up, which will prove to be kind of a pain in the side. The pack gun or the 37mm getting some shots off finally.
I want to speak real quick. Going back down to the south, we're going to see there was a 307 half-track taking out a couple of universal carriers, but then in turn getting taken out by the 6-pounder. And it looks like while the 21st Panzer does have access to a lot more vehicles, they are not seemingly able to push against this Honey Stewart and this AVRE.
Yeah, the AVRE is just a tough customer because it does have that heavy armor. And even though it's not an anti-tank gun, the trash bin of it does do 30 HE power, which is enough to knock out all these lightly armored vehicles. Easy peasy. Like, maybe now you can bring up a Panzer 4 or a Boyter Sherman. We're definitely able to try and kill that AVRE because they're close to range.
Furball in the north, Mustang going on down, but 3 Spitfires now going after this Focke-Wulf 190. Looks like some reinforcements are coming in from Harold Alexander, though. Another 190 coming on in, and geez, Spitfire galore. So I think we're going to see a couple of dead aircraft coming up pretty darn soon here.
Yeah, and there's just a lot more planes here from Blue at the moment. Focke-Wulf is not going to be able to get a raid. Spitfire's on its tails. There we go.
I was just going to make that comment, indeed. In the meantime, as well, we see a stovepipe before the Germans getting taken on out by that Spitfire modified for ground attack.
Yep.
And indeed, I think we're seeing the last one extending, trying to get away. It's all 4 planes going after him. I don't think he's going to make it out alive, folks. There he goes, and the champ is down.
I just want to say how damaging that is, losing both those Focke-Wulfs. Those were both Harold Alexander. You have 3 plane slots for the 21st Panzer. Each of those Focke-Wulfs is a single plane slot, so he just lost pretty much all of his air superiority fighters in that run engagement. That's pretty big for Harold.
That's a very, very good point. See, M22 in the meantime, real quick, going on out. Another mortar being pinned down by just gun runs like crazy. Now, what is Stotney doing this entire time? I mean, right now, if we want to take a look in terms of just units on the field, there's not a lot of red if you go over to his viewpoint. What could he be doing to kind of help out his ally a little bit more? It seems like Harold Alexander's fighting this by himself.
Yeah, Harold's really been up and north, down and center, all over his map. Probably some air superiority fighters right now are definitely helping try and knocking out some of these Spitfires. And trying to, as you just see, there's a huge bulge in the middle that Blue 4 has. And if they can just move through and try to knock it out, because if he can knock out that bulge, that should bring the point advantage into the red favor, but
that bulge is only getting bigger. Pioneers going down to Pathfinders and glider rifles.
That is a bit, yeah. Just glider rifles too, that's really funny.
Yes, okay, so glider rifles, I kind of feel like they are the American version of the Ersatztruppen for the Germans. How do you feel about that particular characterization?
Glider rifles are double the price of an Ersatztruppen, but they pretty much fill the exact same role. All they have is 11 Garens and then the bar. The bar's crap, always just turn off the bar because you want to engage at 300 meters. Just use them as cannon fodder, essentially. Well, not complete cannon fodder, but they're not that great in the infantry fight because they don't have a submachine gun or a machine gun. They're very average, extremely average.
Well, if that's one thing you should be devastatingly average. Unless, of course, we're talking about your looks, Rang, at which point you're just devastatingly handsome.
Oh, thank you. I work hard.
Of course, I'll please. You make it look easy. Down in the south, it looks like Harold's falling back a little bit. He's got a nice little grouping of Fallschirmjägers. Wait,
yeah,
Stotney's actually deploying to the south.
Down. Both sides are helping each other up and south, which is really good teamwork. You see it's a lot more when both sides are using TeamSpeak or voice communications. When you're just doing it typing, in a match, it usually just comes down more into single 1v1s. But that's good.
Indeed.
Yeah, Stanley's helping because those Fallschirmjaegers are going to help a lot playing off those rifles.
That's a good point. We're going to see actually there's a Command Churchill down just now taking out, oh my gosh, there goes some Flamme troops. And this aviary is still around. And now with this Command Churchill down here, I was going to see, okay, there's a Pack 40 coming in from Harold, excuse me, from Stotney. I thought it was Harold coming in with that pack, but I guess not.
It's all confused now. It's all over the place. Stotney's bringing more stuff down below, I believe. More Fallschirmjaeger units. And Harold finally got a Panzer 4G, which you need to try and knock out those tanks.
So actually, let's theorycraft for a little bit. So what would happen if Harold actually kind of flips this now and he concentrates a ton of fire up into the northern side against the 101st? Would this be an opportunity to kind of punch through the lighter armed paratroopers and just devastate the Allied North?
I think that'd be the absolute best thing for him to do, because also the territory up north, the environment, is more open ground. And once we get into sea phase, if Harold decides, maybe bring up into like a port, he's going to have a much more easier time in that northern hand sector. Again, I would say down below where even if he was to punch through in the south, you still have quite a few tree lines blocking your line of sight in town areas you have to be cautious about.
Okay, one thing that's kind of killing me right now is a Pack 41 up in the north. He has this beautiful shot on the side of this DD Sherman, and this guy's holding fire. How often do you hold fire, and what would be the best time in which to actually use it that way?
Hold fire is good for anti-tank guns, especially now, because you want to make sure that when they get their first shot, it's going to be a killing shot. Because as you can see, the Pack 41's completely stunned up, it can't return fire, it's rickety wrecked. Usually want to return fire on recon units and anti-tank guns, especially more lightly armored and I'm trying to say aggressive or powerful anti-tank guns where you do need a rate for a tank to get closer to be able to effectively penetrate.
Looking back on the south real quick in the meantime as well, you saw the mini-map, just this flying column of blue.
Oh Jesus, Spitfires.
And this Pack 40 is getting slaughtered, being forced back. A fourth gun one coming on, and it's... Wow.
I just want to say Pilot 3D is the one having the air superiority. And he's playing the infantry deck, not the airborne deck, with all these bloody Spitfires.
It seems kind of surprising to me. I don't know about you, I'm stunned, really.
Yeah, he's really good job just using those Spitfires. I don't think he has lost run yet, to be honest. And knocking out both those Focke-Wulfs early on definitely helped out a lot in the air superiority game. And as you can see, he can just strafe run any anti-tank gun or infantry squad as he so desires.
Now, one thing I do want to talk about real quick, and this is just maybe more of a humorous thing, just check to see what kind of utility he does have. You see that one lone Pathfinder up to the northwest? That poor sod. Okay, where could he be going to be a little bit more effective?
I think just keeping it behind enemy lines to scout stuff probably its best course of action. And just try not to really do anything crazy and just use it as an early warning beacon.
So looking at that, I'm realizing, of course, this is probably the things that the top players do almost perfectly, is they insert these recon units through the front line so that way they can actually get an accurate picture of their opponent.
Yep.
Unfortunately, after you're through the front lines of your opponent, you want to be able to put him in a great position to see an awful lot, and that while he's in there, not a lot's really going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just best to keep it for now. I don't really think if he wants to move it up, it'd be a bit too risky. And even if it spots one or two things, that's going to be better than none. It seems like going to have a little bit of an air fight. Mustangs. Oh no, both sides is going to be keeping at bay.
Just want to scare each other off a little bit. Looked like there was going to be a ground attack, and nope, never mind. But again, okay, looking at those ME-109s though, those are two single separate stacks, aren't they?
Should be, yeah, for Stanley. I believe it was separate stacks for... Yeah, you get two separate 2-star 109s for third Fallschirmjaeger, then you get 2 times 2 1-star 109s. So, yeah.
Okay, alright. So actually, right now, getting a quick look over here in terms of ticketage. 910 to 50 right now. It looks like the Axis is slowly making their way back into this one. And one thing I do want to target is the fact that we have 3 Werfrahmen 35H tanks coming on in.
Bloody hell.
And oh my gosh, actually, we already had a Wiederfachwerfer as well unload on that southern 6-pounder and its HMG. What will these guys be adding really to this noise down in the south? Are they going to be great to punch against infantry? Are they going to be able to devastate tanks? What's the purpose behind this?
Probably everything. They're just going to stun up the tanks, they're going to stun up the infantry, and just try to stop his push with all these tanks and rifles trying to come through. Because actually Howard Alexander and Stani are rather close range in this forest with his Panzer Grenz and Fallschirmjaeger Pioneers, and they just need a tank right now to try and knock out these Churchills because they are having a time of their lives.
And here come the first of those rockets coming on out. So looking and wow, beautiful hit on 6-pounder.
Yep.
Beautiful
very
hit. But it looks like, oh no, I was going to say they've attracted some attention, but no, that Spitfire's going after that concentration of infantry, and those bombs are going to devastate them.
Knocking out one squad and really hindering the other two.
The Verfraumann, though, not to be outdone, takes out an HMG from the Vickers, and that Wiederfachwerfer, well, he's got another, what, probably 20 seconds of reload time, and then he's got another 48 rockets. So we're going to check back with him in just a second here. Taking a look up to the northern side, we're seeing a lot of troops that are getting low on ammunition, but we're also seeing a Kugelwagen munitions on out there. And interestingly for me, we have a glider rifles behind enemy lines as well, with a couple of Flak 36s around.
Yeah, it's really kept a lot of his guys behind the lines as RangRoo managed to move up, especially with his glider rifles. He should just try to attack them and try to knock out a flak gun or two.
Sorry, I'm looking around the map to see if we can see kind of any kind of interesting material. We are going to see, oh my gosh, can't think of the actual full name for this, but the Geb H40, it's a giant artillery piece, a 105mm in fact. Crazy amounts of range. Is this in the wrong position though?
No, I'd say it's in a pretty good spot. He's using it to try and knock out his rifles and yeah.
Wiederfachwerfer goes down.
Oh.
Sorry, I started to cut in there. But at the same time, Wiederfachwerfer gets bombed by a Spitfire, and U.S. Pilot 3D just continues the air domination the entire way through. Sorry, please go back to what you were saying there.
But yeah, the Jabbies just need to try to pin down the rifles, and I find it funny that Pilot 3D sending rifles up top, even though he's a guy playing down below. So both sides definitely communicating from some sort of voice IP, and I really do like seeing that when both sides intermingle all around the map instead of just doing two separate 1v1s.
Indeed. So yeah. Spitfire's making ground runs in the meantime. Those Mark 9s doing crazy amounts of damage, taking out a pack position, forcing back. Oh no, that okay. He's not quite being forced back. He's retreating on his own volition. He's not being forced back. But indeed, I think we're beginning to see a sagging of the entire German position. How do you feel about that kind of statement?
Yeah, down below, Howard is bringing up some more Panzer reinforcements. The rockets from those run random ends. The tanks of the rockets are slowly... Rough
smoke throwers, essentially.
But, yeah...
Look how much air power is out right now.
Yeah, just all the Spitfires and Mustangs. We got some Messerschmitt 109 up top, but not going to really be enough if it does come push to shove.
And let's just take a quick look again. Spitfires with their two 20mm cannons and then two M2HBs, taking out pretty much anything they want to, whenever they want to. And I think we're going to have a furball in the north. The three ME-109s, they're going to get completely slaughtered, I feel like, though.
Yeah, and also the Shermans and M20s, they only have 50 cals, but at least some sort of anti-air to try to help with the air power. The flat gun's helping out a bit, forcing one P-51 to retreat, and that's just...
At the same time, I kind of feel like we're going to see a rather minimal... never mind, I say that, and that's when death does happen. There goes one ME-109, and...
Yep.
Answer this for me. I don't know this necessarily myself. I haven't been able to test it per se. But if an aircraft hits a unit on the field, does it cause damage to that unit on the field?
I believe so. In Wargame, it had the same thing. I remember in Wargame what happened a few times is an aircraft would crash and accidentally blow up a command vehicle, like a lightly armored vehicle. So it should be able to kill something or damage an infantry in it if it does crash onto him.
Another Verfraumann barrage coming on out, going to 3 different areas here. If the if the Scots or the Americans are on top of this, they really could be locating these positions and bombing it back to Kingdom Come. Does not look like it's as effective as the first barrages are, though it does take out some casualties here and there.
I just want to say for both sides, this is a rather hard map to really push hard on, because you have so many forests and the creeks and the choke points. It's, as you can just see, this entirety of the match has just been all over. There's attacks here, there's attacks there, but no real crazy pushes. And that's really just because the map is very... it's just...
unwieldy.
Yeah, it's an unwieldy map, it's peculiar. So you really have to fight over every forest and every choke point that you can get your hand on.
I do more or less agree with you, but I have to say, if you look in the center part of the map, you see where you have spot troops across from recons, literally about dead center. We have not seen a ton of action around this kind of little creek bridge, and frankly, it kind of felt like if either side really wanted to push it, this could have been an excellent opportunity to rupture your enemy's center.
But if you just rush through and just try to get onto the other side real fast, I mean, for Howard, only it's really a 2-2-2. But Pilot 3D does have an AT gun and a tri-potion to try and stop any of those business, but like most matches really, both sides prefer to attack the flanks, just so it seems a bit more safer.
That's more than fair. That's more than fair. Now, the interesting thing I do want to point out as well, first of all, 55-45 looks like the Allies are just going to consolidate their position completely, is that while at long last that town was completely taken up above, and indeed there's plenty of territory seized outside of it as well, down in the south, things look significantly more grim, and as the Spitfires and Mustangs make more gun runs all over the place, I don't think the German air power can really get back in this, can they?
Nah,
one Mustang is down.
Really. Yeah, one Mustang does go down. He does have the AA at least, which is helping out a bit, but yeah, charging in that Messerschmitt, not a smart idea. Now he's charging in a second run.
Although we are seeing actually just force back recalls, but I think at this point we're just going to see some smoke trailing onto some fuselages, and that's about it.
Yeah. We've got the Panzer 4G, kind of helping out a little bit down below, trying to knock out his rifles, and I'm still amazed that Alpha is still alive.
Yes, but at the same time, if you look at it, I mean, like you said before, the AVRE has just got such incredible amounts of armor. Typhoon, in the meantime, making a gun run at the P4, so despite the fact that the AVRE was easily within penetration range, that last second rocket run might have been
Just
the saving grace.
Yeah.
And now 4 of your favorite tanks to say, but the Werframens are firing again, my friends.
He's using a lot of artillery really well. I find when I play 21st Panzer a lot, I love using artillery. It gets so many fun units to use, and just these Werframens alone are keeping these tanks at bay, stopping Pilot 3D from really making any major ground, because now it's forced to fall back once again, and also the rockets leave a fire effect, like an napalm effect, on the ground, which does hinder any continuous advances for a brief period of time, of course.
So, of course, in the meantime, we saw the Wiederfachwerfer before, and unfortunately it died before it could really give us its true kind of might. In your mind, which one's better, Wiederfachwerfer or Werframen?
I'd say the Werframen is better just because it does more damage.
You could say the German Katyusha, it's fine.
The German Katyusha, that's what I was going to go say. I love that unit in A phase, but it just does not have the same destructive power that the Werframen has with its 280mm rockets. And also just the fire effect of reaching the ground is nutty.
Real quick, we just see ME-109 go down to the north. There's a 2-star veterancy right there. And Spitfire is making bombing runs, taking out some infantry up on the northern side. And we're beginning to see...
We've got a King Tiger up top.
Ooh, do we?
Yeah, we've got a King Tiger P all the way up top by the bridge.
Geez, the Königstiger. He's hiding behind that Stug 3. I have no idea how I missed him. Another ME-109 goes down, and I think this last one's going to die fairly soon as well.
And that King Tiger, well, it's going to be able to kill the Shermans and all this pretty light armor very easily. Unless Pilot 3D can bring up a 17-pounder. Which, yeah, I think he's exactly doing that immediately. Ripping in the 17 into shape. But yeah, the King Tiger is just going to have pretty easy pickings in all this AA and Shermans if it does dare to try and come around the corner.
Now, people complain, and I have complained for a fair bit of time, the 20mm is too buff. But at the same time, those tri-Polstons, I know for me, I have an issue with the Polston kind of anti-air. Do you find that they're a little bit too beefy for what their cost is?
No, I find Troposons pretty decent. They're very powerful, of course, because it is 3 20mm guns. The 3 20mm guns on a single AA piece. But the thing is they're very short range. They don't have the same AA net range as, let's say, a Bofors gun.
Very true.
You can't cover as much as the map as you possibly could with even like a Flak 88 or Bofors. And we've got another Ruff and Ramen.
I was just going to make that comment, yes. Newly arriving recon squads getting taken on out. There's a Boyta Sherman's actually now out here as well. So a Phase A tank finally making it to the field. And I don't know if that's not going to be enough, but we are going to see maybe this kind of soft Panzer Kyle is going to be coming on in and pushing back the Scotch tanks. I don't know if that's really going to be a fair assessment, though.
The thing, the Panzer 4Gs, this is a rather close-range engagement, so they can penetrate the Avra and the Command Churchill, which is about getting line of sight to begin with, which is rather hard considering the terrain, and also Pilot 3D is using smoke to his advantage to try and keep the Churchills from getting shot at.
Okay, one thing I do want to focus on as well, we have the Daimler Littlejohn out here. So I don't know, nope, they don't see each other just yet. Oh, and that poor guy goes down. So the Littlejohn tank, by the way, it's a quick kind of note that anybody had a Littlejohn anything, which basically a much lighter vehicle being given a massive, massive stick, but having a very, very little voice, if you catch my drift. So I wanted to see if their abilities were going to stack up to kind of the hype that they used to have during the war. Boyta Sherman taking out a Humber Mark III, and indeed we're going to see the other one kind of scooting on forward for a nice little peek, I would think, before falling back much more intelligently.
Yeah, we got a Wolverine all the way in the southern side from Pilot 3D taking some shots at the Boyta Sherman, and really these Panzer IVs cannot get a good line of sight on these Churchills, which already fell back to another tree line, and they want to probably rate up a little bit for them around to go up before moving them up into the fray. The Sherman being forced to fall back, but still, it's very meat grindy down below.
And that's what's kind of surprising to me, too. I think you hit on the nail on the head a lot before when you said about, oh, wait, airstrike coming in.
Yep.
I don't know if they're going after the Shermans, they're going after the P4s. Looks like they're going after the P4s. And dear God.
Hey, Jesus.
I know it doesn't do a lot of damage, but just it looks hellish down there.
And if we just look at the points right now, very heavily advantaged to allies, and there's only a minute left in the replay, so I guess we know who's going to be winning this match.
I think that's a fair one. Obviously, it's going to be the Axis.
Yeah, you know, they run the Raw, of course, right?
Of course. I mean, no one's paying attention the other way.
Yeah, you know.
It's like playing golf. It's like playing golf.
The higher the score, the better it is.
Exactly. So, getting into some kind of closing comments then, we're going to see a 2-inch carrier is going to go down, the Verframen getting one final shot on out. And actually, is that the Boyta Sherman going down? No, it's the P4 getting hit by the AVRE. So that guy has gotten a lot of scalps in this game.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see. The Operas kill this.
Likewise.
It's killed a lot.
Likewise. So how could this have gone differently? We're going to get another 15 seconds here, then I think you're going to get 2 tap outs. But what could have gone differently? How could this have gone differently?
I think Redfall it's a hard map to attack on. It's very choke pointy, very weird. I think attacking in the middle probably would have been the best bet, and trying to let Howard Alexander just go to town. The King Tiger up top didn't really do much because it had to go around a corner, and at close range it could have got killed. But in the middle area, he probably could have had a better chance using the open ground to his advantage.
And I think looking actually at the team side of things, so major victory over here in favor of the Allies. Unsurprisingly, it was about 15-ish, 100, yeah, whatever. We're not going to do math. I'm not very good at that anyway. To less than 150. Looking at the kind of KD ratio, though, we're seeing a rather huge disparity. Why is that?
Well, I think the air superiority helped a lot with, again, a lot of the kills. It's just the constant Spitfires and Mustangs and bombing runs continuously hitting the infantry units, and really, they just did a good job holding onto their ground, and of course, their Avra taken out quite a bit, but they just held on. Red 4 tried to attack, and they'd pretty much stop them in their tracks.
And speaking of the AVRE, let's check over that kill section. I'm scrolling down. You won't miss the AVRE, trust me.
Nope. That's It killed a Panzer IV. It killed a Panzer IV.
Right at the end of the game, yep.
Yes, and the Panzergrens and the vehicles. It did a lot of work here, a lot of bloody work. Definitely paid itself off, like 2 or 3 times at least.
Very, very accurate. Let's see. Against that particular grouping, doesn't look like there were any kind of standouts. A couple of 222s taking some good shots. Verframen doing pretty well, but all in all, I don't know whether or not I'd rather have one single vehicle getting a ton of kills or having to spread out across the entire way here.
Yeah.
Do you want to try to check? Sorry, go ahead.
It's just been like there hasn't been really any crazy plays in this matchup. It's just been very meat grindy in the middle. Not too much actual ground being taken. Even in terms of when that big bulge happened, there's just a few infantry units holding the ridge line because there's nothing there to stop them and no units nearby. They managed to get a nice just map advantage in terms of ground gained.
Seems fair. That seems like a fair assessment right there. Actually, taking a look at the overall history behind things, Aviary actually getting 3 of its kills right around 25 minutes there. But any kind of final comments out of you on this particular map?
Now, Blue 4, or Allies I should really be calling them, just managed gaining their superiority, so that negated 3rd Fallschirmjaeger's real advantage later on, and Harold couldn't exactly use his tank advantage all that great, because those Churchills just, they were literally a tank, a brick wall, stopping any major advantages, but that map is just, it's a weird map. It's just very peculiar.
It definitely is pretty brutal. So guys, yes, that was an Allied victory. And at least from me, I appreciate you guys coming out today, Rang. I'm sure you guys were happy to have me here as well.
I hope you guys have a good Brexit 1776 celebration.
Thank you very much from your neighbors in the south. Folks, that's going to do it for us today. So this is Con Ulrich.
And I'm RangRoo.
And we'll see you guys all next time. Take it easy, everybody.
Take it easy.